up, sports fans. Your favorite sportsbook, BetUS.com, is back for our 28th year of NFL action. With the industry's biggest sign-up bonus of up to 200%, BetUS offers our members the opportunity to cash in on all your favorite sports, including NFL, NBA, MLB, and more. We've also got hundreds of new casino games, including the coolest new European slots, and our live dealers are waiting for you at the table. Sign up at BetUS.com today to get into the action. BetUS, where the game begins.
And now, broadcasting live from Las Vegas, the Snake Sports Talk Show with Jake Silva starts now.
Here we go, ladies and gentlemen, on a Wednesday, only middle of the week until we have the divisional round. It's going to be a lot of fun. Lots of more news coming around the corner with the coaching carousel here on the Snake Sports Talk Show, wherever and however you may be watching and listening. Thanks for making us part of your day. Couple minutes from here, former NFL corner Mark Parson is going to be joining us here on the show. And also, former NFL defensive tackle, formerly with the Green Bay Packers, Michael Wyche is going to be joining us. We got a lot to discuss up from here. No Mike Tomlin, as he has decided to step down. We're going to talk more about that. But I want to start with where we were on Monday night. So the Houston Texans and the Pittsburgh Steelers, two teams where both of their offenses, what seemed a little bit suspect. One of them managed to drop points late. Now, the only thing that I look at for the Houston Texans, that defensive front is absolutely unbelievable. And nobody could disagree with that. So the Texans play with an awful lot of adversity. Lots of that starts with the coach in D'Amico Ryans, and then not to mention the trust in C.J. Stroud. Even though C.J. had a bunch of fumbles that ended up hurting a little bit of what their offense was supposed to do. Now remember, in this game, the particulars were they needed to fix up the red zone offense. Defense needed to continue to show up, and CJ needed to make the throws. Well, immediately when Woody Marks and the rest of them started charging downfield late in the fourth quarter, it became much better. And the Texans, though, they're walking in and they're going to be facing up against the New England team in Drake May, who took care of business against Justin Herbert and the Chargers, and they're going to be having to be ready for that pass rush that Houston has. Houston is all about the gritty and the ground game. That's all they are. Danielle Hunter, Will Anderson, Aziz Al-Shahir, and even their secondaries with Kamari Lassiter and with Derek Stingley. We'll talk more about that when we have Mark Parson up here. But the point is Houston, this defense is so caliber to a Super Bowl that all you hope for is that with C.J. Stroud, he doesn't make a whole lot of those mistakes and also has to hold on to the football. That's one of the biggest cases you hope for C.J. Stroud in this offense to get that rolling. But I think Houston, they have exactly those pieces. They'll make ends work. And as long as D'Amico Ryans, he has the belief system in play. And from what I see, D'Amico Ryans is going to do whatever it takes to ensure they instill pressures and they move on to the next round. So let's talk about Pittsburgh. So Mike Tomlin, 19 years in an organization, and everybody's asking, what is now going to happen next? So Mike Tomlin, as we've said, has created a culture for Pittsburgh that after Bill Cowher had left, he was only just autopiloting what the Pittsburgh Steelers have always been known. Defensive-minded, ground and pound. They've even had some flashy receivers. I remember a lot of them. Hines Ward and Santonio Holmes and even Antonio Brown and multiple others. So that's one of the big things about Pittsburgh is they need to switch some things up. That's why the biggest part about Mike Tomlin is that he's too rigid and stuck. And as far as being the rah-rah guy, hoping that the defense will continue to work well. But Jalen Ramsey, he's getting up there in age. Cameron Hayward is getting up there in age. TJ Watt now has to sit with and stomach being 0-5 in the playoffs now. And you paid him all that money. I mean, Myles Garrett, let's give it credit. He at least won a playoff game with Cleveland, and that's dysfunctional Cleveland. So if you're the Pittsburgh Steelers, and I was saying this up and on record before the season started, your best option, especially to help the offense, was to trade away TJ Watt to get assets, because look at who you would have had in front of you. You would have had Abdul Carter as your pass rush for 5 years until his contract is extended. Then you would have at least gotten a bunch of assets for your offensive side of the ball. Maybe O-line, maybe a healthy run game, maybe even a quarterback. You would have been able to get all of those things addressed. But no, you went on, you traded for DK Metcalf, you paid him X amount of money, which I have no disrespect to DK Metcalf. But it's hard for me to believe it when I know DK has had a list of some tendencies when it comes to the attitudes in the locker room and on the field. He's had a lot of those tendencies. Yes, he has. And what you're trying to instill and bring in once you brought in Aaron Rodgers. Now, Aaron is Aaron, okay? He lives out his life the way that he wants. And obviously, just like in this loss, he's going to disappear until we got a further answer whether he's playing or retiring. And to me personally, I think Aaron should retire, respectfully. What more do you really have to prove? You got nothing else to really prove out. For Pittsburgh, you really got to change this playbook up. And you got to change up exactly what the culture has stood for now for the last few years when Mike Tomlin has been there. Being good enough and winning over 500 is not the standard that you want to have in this building. Like it's not. And we all know the Pittsburgh Steelers teams, from Chuck Noll to Bill Cowher and with Mike Tomlin. Like something has to change. And respectfully so. It was about time. It really was. I mean, for years and years, when you think of Mike Tomlin, you really think that, I think he waits a year. I think you take a year off. And what's happened is he wasn't fired. He stepped down. But he made sure that he talked with his players. He made sure that the players and the coaches and the staff, they were all not surprised, not crazily surprised. So at least from that case and from that point on, Mike Tomlin, he takes a year off. Maybe even if you take an analyst job, I mean, that would be fun. You know, you take it for at least a year until you see exactly what comes up. But we know now there's 9 coaching jobs that's open. We're going to talk a little bit more about that. Mark Parson up and around the corner. But I just say this. There's going to be a lot of changes in the NFL, and I love the way that this has been kind of coming around. And this is all Kansas City's out. Like now you've got so much activity, and this is what the NFL is all primed for. And now we have, I think this is record-breaking 9 coaching jobs open and could potentially be 10 if the Bills, if they don't make it past Denver, and they're here in Denver, they don't make it past the Broncos, Sean McDermott is going to get questioned. So is Josh Allen. Josh is highly talented. The last thing you want is to have the narrative where he could not get it done with or without Mahomes in the playoffs. So there's lots of narratives going around. It's crazy. So we're going to also put up my final NFL top 10 teams. I will also be posting that up on all of our social medias, guys. So just so for the record, for the two teams that are in there in the 9 and 10 spots, they're eliminated. However, they capped off in a playoff game in which I feel very confident of their future. So just keep that in mind. So there's going to be a couple things to discuss. By the way, Oregon, they've got a coaching type or got a quarterback type deal that I think is interesting. So Dante Moore just announced he's coming back to Oregon. Okay, so keep that in mind. This is going to be interesting because to me, I think Dylan Raiola, I believe, is doing the right thing. It's the same thing that Dante Moore did when Dylan Gabriel was there up at Oregon. So you learn more of the playbook. You understand the details and the ideas. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to talk about that with Mark Parson up and around the corner. All righty, guys, like we said, 2026 and outstanding of a start. The playoffs have been wild and immaculate. Not only that, but the NBA season is on, NHL season is on, and eventually when we get into February, you know what that means. Pitchers and catchers report. That means MLB is going to be slowly making its way back, creeping up in the spring. But to get prepared for that, check out paydayfantasy.com, your go-to player pick'em app. It's so much fun. At Payday Fantasy, all you got to do is go onto your computer or download it on your mobile device through Google Play and the App Store. They have an official app. When you sign up, free $5 entry, free $5. I mean, I could be getting a famous bowl with that at my local KFC. I could be getting so many things for $5. But for $5 on a free entry, that's what Payday Fantasy gives you. And best of all, when you use this promo code for 100% deposit matchup of up to $100, that's the code SNAKE. So every time you deposit, it's 100% guaranteed deposit matchup of up to $100. So check it out for yourselves at paydayfantasy.com. Payday Fantasy, sign, play, pick the player and the outcome, and get paid with Payday Fantasy.
Takes and opinions? Want a show of the best coverage around the world of sports? Jam-packed with an all-star interview lineup? Then the best place to find it all, sports and entertainment, is right here. Join Jake Silva on the Snake Sports Talk Show, presented by SeatGeek and BetUS. Weeknights at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 Pacific on Sports Wave Network.
Well, he spent 3 seasons in the NFL, and after what we just watched with the Houston Texans bringing that firepower to the Pittsburgh Steelers, joining us to talk more about that, Mark Parson around the corner here on the program. I think with this game, I mean, to me, the Texans, the way I described this in the preview, was the Texans, their biggest problem that they knew they needed to fix and fix quickly is their red zone offense. Because in the playoffs, you've got a ferocious defense that's getting you the 3 and outs, that's getting you the pressures and sacks, and not to mention the coverages so that the opposing pass offense doesn't stretch the field. But you still got to be able to put points on the board. I felt like it was cruise control, but yet the defense was able to come up strong, and then it all left out into the end. What did you make of that, and what now needs to be the focal point going into the divisional round on the road in Foxborough against New England, who they too got tested with 5-6 sacks that they ended up having on the offensive side as well. So that's going to be an interesting matchup against the Patriots.
Absolutely. So it's interesting because normally I'm not a really big fan of hiring defensive head coaches. Okay. I like offensive head coaches. I played for Gary Kubiak And then Sean Payton, we were always top 5 offenses. So that's what I'm used to playing for from a team perspective. Even in college, we played with Frank Solich. He's an offensive-minded head coach. So now with you have Miko, right? I played with Miko. So him being a defensive guy, same thing in offense is always protect the ball, number one. So limit takeaways, turnovers, right? On offense, run the ball, control the clock, field position when you have a strong defense. So I'm, just knowing how Miko is, he was our Mike linebacker when I was with the Texans back in 2009, and just seeing him in his maturation process into where he is now, it's incredible. So defense, when you know the saying, defense wins championships, but offense has to protect the ball, control the clock, and then when it's in the red zone, bro, you gotta punch it in. So no, I'm excited about the Texans. You see, I'm rocking the Texans, right now.
I tell you, it's funny because I talked with a former Texan, and you probably remember him, is Amobi Okoye. And I asked him about this with D'Amico Ryans, because to me, I love the philosophy he brings. And it was funny because he told me, he was like, when we were on defense, we got into the huddle. He broke everything down, even when we were in practice, when we're just basically trying to play the X's and O's game and trying to figure out our spots. And it was like he was so destined to be a coach because the way he broke down film, the way he broke down schemes. But then there's that culture of that comfortability and confidence with the players. So when you think about that, that's where I feel the adversity is crucial. And D'Amico's like, forget the background noise. Let's focus on what we know that works. And whatever comes at us, we're going to figure that out up into the end until the clock runs zero. So with that, I feel like that's a big, crucial spot. And so if D'Amico gets this done and they go into the AFC Championship, Mark, I feel that if I had to look at a coach that's confident, that's strong, understands all of those things, I mean, why wouldn't you want to root for a guy that is going to show up? And he's been in the big dance before as a coordinator. So that's where I'm like, I think a lot of that experience could very much pay off in his position.
And then look at his, let's take a look at his pedigree. And if you think about it, the coaching tree that he comes from. All right. So remember, let's start at the top, Shanahan, right? So Shanahan coached Gary Kubiak out there in Denver, right? Yep. So Kubiak was our head coach. He's a player coach. I don't know if you knew this, but he was the backup to John Elway for 10 years, right? So now he's coaching us, Miko, me, all of our, guys as players. Then you have Kyle Shanahan. Kyle Shanahan was the OC at Houston. What's the Green Bay Packers? I'm blending. What's his head coach name? He was a card holder when I was a rookie. Don't forget about Saleh, right?
Yep.
So you got Saleh. Who else do we have? I mean, you have so many. I mean, even Marcus Freeman in Notre Dame, he was coaching. He was playing with us. So you got so many. The pedigree that D'Amico comes from. A lot of people don't talk about it, but I mean, it's elite. So you got all these high level. Ray Rhodes was there when we were there. So the point is, he comes from great pedigree. He was one of the best leaders that I ever played with. I was a rookie. I was a young fella, and he was a leader there. But then he plays with a certain tenacity. We had Brian Cushing, and I just remember listening to the linebackers talk because I played DB. Listening to the linebackers talk, man, they were so freaking physical, man. I mean, they used to literally try to knock out the fullback. Like, let's see who can knock the dude out. So so he brings that tenacity, and the players can feel it. Like when I don't know if you've ever heard, but like, I'm not going to say that a guy has to be a former player to coach. I'm not going to say that. I've heard people try to say that, but I'm going to tell you this. I think it does help because you just don't know how it feels to put your face mask in somebody's chest at times, right? Well, guess what? Miko knows all about it. So they trust him.
It's funny because I think if you're a former player, you've been on that field, you've kind of seen exactly all the experiences that And of course, the NFL's evolved very quickly. I mean, it's pro offense. They're all catered to the quarterback and their style. But at the same time, the defenses have also still have that physicality, even if, rule changes say otherwise on some spots, but it's still the same physical play. And I think, when I look at this and what it requires to win a Super Bowl in itself, because you think about, in your tenure with the Saints, there was a lot of guys that you've been around, played around, and having the goal in which you want to win that big game. And sure enough, New Orleans, Drew Brees, Sean Payton, they end up going and winning the Super Bowl. And it's like, but it took a lot of construction and consistency. So what, in your mind, when you looked at that, and even back in your playing career, what requirements does that usually look like to win a Super Bowl? Because this is the most wide open we've ever seen the playoffs be in quite a long time.
It takes all departments moving all in unison. It takes a unified front to do it. And what I mean by that is let's just talk about on the field. You have 3 phases of football, right? Special teams has to be elite. Offense has to be elite. Defense has to be, everything has to be clicking on all cylinders. And that's how it was in New Orleans that year. I mean, obviously Drew Brees, one of the greatest quarterbacks in history, but he had his receivers. They knew the timing was amazing. I mean, we had Reggie Bush. We had, certain guys. We had Darren Sproles, certain people. And then Sean Payton. We all knew each other. And it was a beautiful thing. Defense, Jonathan Vilma. I mean, so I'm going to tell you this. We had a veteran team. So I playing for the Texans at that time, playing for the Saints. So when I came in with the Texans, we were a very young team. So we didn't have even our DC and Frank Bush. It was his first time being a DC. Whereas you come over to the Saints, man, Dennis Allen, Coach Dennis Allen was our DB coach. Mm-hmm. And I remember being in the room and we had all these veteran guys and it was more of a collaboration instead of like the coach just talking to you. Dennis Allen could sit back and do that. Now we're collabing and everybody's getting better because everybody's active in the meetings. So this is the type of stuff that people don't see. They just mostly see what's happening on Sunday, but it's just the just everything working in unison. I'm going to say this. Everything matters though. The training room, the food, how the GM is selecting the players because they're bringing a new guy in every week. That's So a guy like me, who I wasn't a star player, and I'm like, oh man, they're bringing in Chris McAllister. Oh man, they're bringing in Macho Harris. Like, are they going to? So it's everything that you don't see is happening. That's on a good team. It's all organized.
Yeah, 100%. And it's funny because I look at I live here in Denver. And so when I look at this turnaround of what Sean Payton has been able to do with this team, because first of all, you're dealing with a deadly cap hit for Russell Wilson's contract. You bring in a young quarterback in Bo Nix, who I know is a franchise quarterback, but it does take a level of trust and capability for the quarterback play in itself, because this was the same way he instilled with Drew Brees. So you knew you were going to make the throws. In your experience being around Sean Payton, is defenses altogether, he's had some really good ones from the past when you played, and in this deep Denver defense with adding Andre Greenlaw and Talanoa Funga. So when I look at, because they're going to come up with the big competition at hand with Josh Allen and the Bills, and we know that the Bills have a lot of pressure on their shoulders because this is a year to do it. But when you think of Sean Payton and his game plan, and the way in which he goes about in his coaching schemes, what was kind of what you saw from the perspective and the way he carried himself amongst as a coach that leaves me like, if I'm a new football fan and I'm learning about a coach, I want to know I got a lot of trust and instilling that to know he is the guy that will bring this together for Denver to make a run.
Yeah, I have this quote that I like to bring up. Competency breeds confidence. This dude is extremely competent. Number one, he has the experience. He's coached for years. He's coached under some of the greats. He's won a Super Bowl. He's gone to playoffs. He's endured he's resilient. He's endured, calamity when it comes to the game. And he's coached different players, so he knows what he knows. He knows what he likes. One of the most important, like the most memorable stories that I would say, or something that I noticed about Sean Payton, because just to give you a little insight, how we had it since he's an offensive-minded coach. Defensive guys really didn't talk to Coach Payton like that, right? We had Greg Williams, so it was kind of like a team, even though we were all unified. It felt like Greg Williams was my head coach because he was the DC, and then Coach Payton, ran the offense in essence. But his attention to detail when it comes to the stats, like numbers. I mean, he had a percentage and statistic for everything. Hey guys, if we get to the 23-yard line, our percentages to score with Drew is this. And then it was like, okay, now we know, like, okay, those probabilities, right? Like, like a person in the gaming industry, you understand game theory and probabilities. This dude is freaking smart, and he has all the numbers. So you're like, okay, my percentages. Oh, if I do this, okay. So coach, how do we change this? How do we get 5 more yards on our kick return, or how do we stop him on our punt? So he just understood the game on a high level, like from an academic perspective. It's incredible to watch.
And I think about too, like the corners that I watch, and especially, I mean, the Texans got some great corners with Kamari Lassiter and even with Derek Stingley. And so I know, like when I look back at high school, your 7-on-7s, your colleges, my big thing is like a lot of these young kids, and I've talked to most of them, to where a lot have wanted to transition to be the wide receiver. However, there were some of them that they trained that way, even as a corner, because they're trying to adapt to speed. And then there's that technique and creativity. So I know rules have definitely changed to where now you really have to improvise and really think outside the box sometimes, especially if you're facing the top tier wide receivers. But when you think of building a cornerback prototype, like what are the things that you look for? Technique and footwork, and even just man-to-man coverages, zone coverages, a lot of those things. What do you look for most that gives you the idea, like you're in the scouter's eyes and you're like, that guy right there, when I look at into the draft board, I'm hoping I find this kid and know shut down, does what he does, and he's athletic enough to where he can go up against these top guys. So what do you look for when you see that?
This is a perfect segue into what I do on my side, the DB network. So just to give you a heads up, Jake. So when I got released out of the NFL, I got into I was the first guy on YouTube to post cornerback technique videos and all that good stuff. It used to be called Cornerback Pro. Now we call it the DB Network. Got over 100,000 followers. We got some of the 4-star, 5-star guys. So definitely give us a follow on Instagram. So I've been doing this a long time, and it's really just to help young fellas out. And Derek Stingley. So I remember, I forgot what year, 2016, 17, I don't know, but they used to do the Nike opening one-on-ones and camps and stuff like that. And they would post that, and I would do my critique. And I would be watching guys. I'd be like, I would notice certain guys. I remember Asante Samuel Jr. I'd be like, oh, this is Asante's son. Okay. So I'm watching him. I'm like, he's going to be good, right? League. Derek Stingley. So I'm looking at Derek Stingley, and the thing that I picked out was when it comes to his press man, he was so smooth. So I was like, somebody's coaching this guy, from high school, and he's locking these dudes up. His technique, it was just so sound, man. He could stay square. He had his eyes in the right place. His feet mechanics were great. His hand placement, and then how he finished was amazing. So I was like, oh, this guy's gonna be nice. And then boom, he goes to LSU, and he does his thing, and now he's a high level guy. So I'm looking at, it's so many things that go into making a great corner. Obviously, you got to have the right DNA, right? You're not going to be, Derek Stingley fits that mold. But then you got to have the right attitude and mentality, because guess what? You're going to get beat. Like, so it's a mindset, it's a resilience. I like my corners very arrogant. I want my guys to be like a short memory, like, oh, what? I'll lock this dude down. and then he has to get, I always say 10,000 reps, get 10,000 reps in order for you to become a master. So that means one-on-ones, working on your drills and having the right coaching and teaching.
So I got a fun fan question here for you, for those watching the show. But a good friend of mine, he actually grew up with your former teammate, Steve Slayton. And he wanted to ask, what did he look like when you would practice with him in the days in Houston? Because, like I said, these were a lot of physical guys that you've been around, but Steve Slayton in particular, like what was he like when you watched him in practice?
You know what the coolest thing about when you make it to the NFL? It's that you've seen these guys on TV playing. Like
Yeah.
he's older than me, right? I think he got me by a couple of years. And I was watching him at West Virginia ball out, just incredible. And then boom, I didn't get drafted, so I landed on the Texans, and I'm there, and I'm in the locker room, and it's like, oh shoot, that's Steve Slayton. Like, just because you make it doesn't, you're still human, and you've seen these guys like, oh shoot, I'm tagging off on Steve Slayton in practice. Steve battled some injuries my year, so he was just really fighting to get back on to 100%. But I mean, first of all, incredible person, and then his athletic ability was incredible, man. And he was the guy. It's like Steve had an amazing year previously before me. And then he got injured, and he just battling back to get there. But I do have a unique story for you when it comes to running backs coming from the bottom. You ready for this?
Absolutely.
Okay. So I'm an undrafted rookie, Houston. And there's this particular guy by the name of Aaron. Okay, Aaron?
Yep.
All right. So look, here's the funny story. So he was coming out of Tennessee, undrafted. And the thing is, he's very confident in himself, and he's letting it be known. And when they wanted to do the rookie, like, hey man, you gotta do this, you gotta do that. And he was like, no, I'm not doing it. I remember Vontae Leach threw his stuff in the cold tub, kind of like, hey, young fella, who do you think you talk, And then he was upset. But the thing is, I remember, like, I thought he was going to get cut because he just messed up a couple times. He's a rookie, but he messed up a couple times. You just can't mess up as an undrafted guy. You got to be, they'll get rid of you any day. Any day could be your last day, right? And I just remember how he was kind of treated, and like how everybody treated him, right? He's a rookie, first of all, he's undrafted. I went to New Orleans, all right? And then I came back the next year, and I saw him, and I'm like, you're the man now, bro. Like, I mean, and he got the single rushing record, right? The single season, he had the most yards. But just seeing him in 1 year, everything flipped, and he was just so smooth, man. And his style of running, his running style was perfect for Gary Kubiak's offense. The zone scheme. You got Matt Schaub, you got Andre Johnson, which Andre Johnson is probably the most athletic human being I've ever been around. So it was just really cool to be around all of those guys.
And it's funny, because I love this every time when I have guests up on the show, whether former pros, athletes in general, and even for, the people that are on the sidelines up and onto the field and they get a good look. It's just, you never know the experience and what you'll be around until you really are on the inside, and then, I love the stories from athletes to where it was like where I built up, where I came from to be in this position, whether it was I was drafted, undrafted, worked through the practices, and such, because it gives you that broader perspective of, to really make it. It doesn't matter what path you go through, as long as it's always the schedule timing, because coaches always harp up on that. The other part is work on the creativity as you're going through progressions, because you never know. Somebody goes down with an injury or a demotion, and now your time is up and onto the spotlight. And that's where it really matters most. And there's no better feeling up and in that, right?
Jake, I got to tell you, man, you just hit it right on the head. So look, when you're talking about a long shot making it, all right, so first of all, I was told I was going to possibly get drafted around 5th round out of Ohio University, 5th round, 6th round, 7th round. Maybe at most undrafted, but free agency. Dude, on draft day was like one of the worst days of my life, okay? At that time, because man, I didn't hear anything. I didn't even call my agent. I had Deion Sanders' agent at that time, rest in peace. And he was pissed off because he was like, dude, like, so he's making this call. So I ended up going to the Detroit Lions rookie mini camp, didn't get signed. I'm at home, I'm training. It's very difficult. I'm like, do I keep playing? Do I keep working out, or do I go get a job? I'm back home at my mom's house. I'm like, what am I going to do? And then I said, just keep working. And boom, I get a call from GM Rick Smith for the Texans. He said it's going to be a trial. You and this guy from Texas. I forgot his name. He's a cornerback out of, Texas. So then me and him, but I was in shape. He wasn't in shape. So I don't know what he was doing, but I knew what I was doing. I was doing like 3 days. So we both go at it. Guess what? He's throwing up on the side. I'm finishing through my drills. The Texans signed me, right? Now, here's the thing. Here's who they drafted. They drafted Glover Quinn, who went on to play some amazing ball. Glover Quinn played, he got signed a $20 million deal later on to play safety for the Lions. Bryce McQueen ran a 4.140. This dude could run like the wind, right? So they got drafted. They had Dante Robinson, who's a franchise player. Jock Reeves coming from Dallas Cowboys. He was really good. And then you had some other journeymen, and you had some guys who they wanted to step up. So really, I was not supposed to make that team. I really wasn't. But guess what happened? Dante held out. So Dante did not come back until the first game that we played Mark Sanchez. He was a rookie for the Jets. That was the first game. He didn't show up to the first game. Guess what? I can stay a little bit longer. Jock Reeves, who was the man there, literally broke his leg, all right, in practice, like the first week, like right before preseason, he broke his leg. Now, obviously, I would never want that to happen to anybody, especially, this is your friend, this is your homie now.
Yeah.
But guess what? Dude. So now I'm playing second string nickel, I'm playing special teams, and I'm getting them, boom, end up making a team. So you just don't know, like you said, timing matters, getting lucky, making sure you do your thing, but you just don't know how the puzzle's going to come together sometimes.
Yeah, it's funny, because I mean, I've talked with, Dominique Curry, and I've talked with, AJ Johnson, who he still looks like he's in great shape and he's gotten into MMA, but he's like, look, I still got a phone call away if, you're needing a linebacker, because he was a lot of fun to watch, here in Denver. But yeah, I mean, all the stories and just the experience, like you just expressed, is just, it's by far incredible. It really is. And especially too, like I get a lot of youngsters who watch the show, and just getting that experience to further fuel and motivate to because if you make this your be all end all, go with it full force and full momentum, and don't stop until it's a point of like, okay, what now is like my next career path, and going along with that as you go. So yeah, man, it's incredible. But Mark, I appreciate you for taking the time coming up and on here with us here up and onto the show. If you got youngsters that are wanting to get in touch with you guys, especially with your DBs network, where can they find you guys? Oh, I think, did the media cut out? I think it might have. But we'll get a chance to get him to get his ending segment up and down to there. But I think it was incredible. Oh, there we go.
Hey,
all right.
Yeah.
No worries.
Right there.
Yeah, no worries. So where can, like, if you've got a youngster who comes on and, wants to learn more about just the DB section, and especially with the way you break down to the DB network, where can a lot of the young kids find you and keep in contact with you guys?
Literally just go to IG and look up the DB network. You'll find us on there. We just interviewed Avion Terrell from Clemson. He's doing his thing, man. We got 4-star guys, and we're just kicking it with guys virtually. We're talking to the parents. Any information that I know, I'm just literally freely giving it away to the guys so that they can be successful in their lives, learn from my mistakes. So definitely just reach out to us, the DB network. Follow us. We just set up a school account. We got like 900 members in there. It's really cool, man.
There you go, man. I appreciate you. What area do you end up living in, for a friend of ours that is asking on here?
So I'm Richmond, Virginia.
Richmond, Virginia. There you go. All righty. Appreciate you for coming on by, man. Let's see what the Texans do up on this one because they're coming in full brute force with that defense. So if they pan it out and they get to the championship, now let's see what the next chapter holds for them, man. But appreciate you for coming on by and sharing your experience, man. Really appreciate it. Take care of yourself, my friend.
All right. Thank you, Jake. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Yeah, there you go. So, yeah, I mean, ultimately, the Texans, they got a trustworthy coach. They got a trustworthy defense. And even with the way in which the offense really worked out for them, I mean, it was tough. When you've got fumbles that are happening up from there, I mean, it is tough. But ultimately, they fought back. They scored up points late. And that's what mattered most. And it worked. It worked for them in the end. But Pittsburgh, like I said, it feels a lot like offense just was stagnant and stale. And it only took that for that to happen. And now you really got to think about who are they going to want to bring in. I still feel as though Brian Flores would work in this because a defensive-minded coach, young, and is innovative because he's learning from his previous tenure. So interesting enough, but man, absolutely love the interview. All right, let's get into the news.
And now, here we go. Hey everyone, it's story time. This is the Hot Press.
So some news out of the hot press, of course, and the big news is quarterback Dante Moore, who was looking to be one of the next NFL prospects into this 2026 NFL draft, has decided, and he decided it earlier on today in the afternoon, that he is returning to the University of Oregon for the 2026 season and will be prepared for a loaded quarterback class in 27. And here was the quote. With this decision, mainly all my life has just been about being as most prepared as I can for any situation I go into. And when it comes to me making my decision, I just want to do what's best for my situation, especially as a quarterback. With my decision, it's been very tough. I've prayed a lot about it, talked to many people, my mentors, and people I look up to. With that being said, of course, I'll be coming back to Oregon for one more year, being able to play for the Oregon Ducks and reach our goal and be national champions. So, as you know, the news spotlight is that the quarterback that ended up transferring from Nebraska to Oregon was Dylan Raiola. And so he's stepping into the footsteps of what Dante Moore did initially when he ended up getting transferred from UCLA to Oregon. And so this is a really good prime spot for Oregon. Now, they are losing their tight end, and they're probably going to end up losing their pass rusher. They'll have a couple more guys loaded up for next year. But Oregon, I mean, you got to think Corian Moore and Evan Stewart, these guys, it's going to be pretty crucial for Oregon if they want to get over that big hump, because we know it's been quite a while for them and they're still awaiting to get that first national championship. And so that is what's going to be difficult. However, I mean, you've got the quarterback of right now with Dante Moore, and you have the quarterback of the future with Dylan Raiola. So to be there at Oregon with Dan Lanning in the way that they built quarterbacks is what's been outstanding. So kind of big up on this one with the news, but Dante Moore, at least he will be going into a loaded roster at Oregon. So it'll be fun to watch from this. So the San Francisco 49ers, who ended up showing out against the Philadelphia Eagles and now is going to be playing division rival Seattle Seahawks. And on top of that, they have now opened up the window for their star linebacker Fred Warner to be coming back from injury, who had originally had a fractured and dislocated right ankle as soon as Saturday night. He is not ruled out. Now, Kyle Shanahan said that the window was open with an eye towards a return to the NFC Championship game should the Niners beat the Seahawks. So Fred Warner was speaking to the local media for the first time since injuring the ankle in October, and this is what he said, quote unquote, "We're taking it day by day. I think they said last week they weren't going to open my window, and then my window is now open. So yeah, we're just taking it day by day." So their star linebacker, they've opened up the window, and San Francisco, I mean, they've been injury riddled, but that hasn't stopped them from utilizing a lot of the pieces that they have. They're not with George Kittle now, and they're going to have to be solely dependent on Tonjes, the tight end. So, and Brock Purdy, we know, has been up on situations in the last couple of weeks where he's had to depend on other receivers, other playmakers. And I mean, Christian McCaffrey, he's healthy. Juwan Jennings has had multiple times where he's shown up in spots. But even, Ricky Pierce also, there are many options in which for Brock Purdy to really be prepared for, but not even just for that. But it's the San Francisco defense. Because this defense now, if you end up getting your star linebacker back in time for the championship, they make it through, then that's what's going to be pretty difficult. So it is going to be fun and interesting to watch. However, San Francisco, you're facing against a physical, brutal team in Seattle, and you're on the road. So this one's going to be a little interesting to watch, but I think it should be fun in the end. All right. Lastly, the Pittsburgh Steelers, as we mentioned here up and onto the show, where they have officially announced that Mike Tomlin is stepping down from the organization after 19 seasons. And so team president Art Rooney II ended up saying his expectation for the next head coach remains the same. And he said, the standard is to try to compete to win a championship every year. So Art Rooney rebuffed the idea that he would tolerate a rebuild as the franchise installs just its fourth head coach since 1969. So when asked about that, he basically said entering a rebuild phase, basically quoting, "I don't like that word, and not sure why you waste a year of your life not trying to contend." So this is one of the things I've always mentioned about proud organizations like the Pittsburgh Steelers, is that they're not going to use the word rebuild. They're going to mostly use the word revamp, rejuice, whatever it is. They're going to revamp the roster. And here's the thing. I said this at the beginning. They should have traded away TJ Watt at the time when the iron was hot. And they didn't. They ended up paying him the most money, and he's now 0-5 in the playoffs. You bring in Jalen Ramsey, you bring in a decimated corners group that, in the end, what did this defense really give you? And the offense was stagnant as all hell. So that's the part in which, when I look at with the Rooneys, is, you haven't had a lot of coaching changes since 1969, and I get that, and you want to compete. Everybody wants to compete, but sometimes it's got to start somewhere, and that's where you really have to start it up from that point on. I just think it's interesting to see this, but with Pittsburgh, they're going to have a lot of discussions to make as far as the roster build and what they're going to end up addressing. So we'll see on that. All right, there was your news.
And now, here we go. Hey everyone, it's story time. This is the hot press.
9 coaching openings, which is crazy to think, because I even had to dig up research, because I believe this is a record-breaking amount of coaching jobs that have opened up. I mean, it is it's insane with how how big the money has been getting in the NFL. And to me, I just look at it this way. So 9 of them now. So this is record breaking. So 9 coaching jobs. And you got to think, there's a lot of places to really think about. Tennessee, Vegas, the Giants, Pittsburgh, Baltimore, Miami, and so many others. And there probably may be more depending on the situation that holds. But again, I think the 9 jobs, like it's vastly incredible with the way that this has looked. And for the record, because a lot of these different places, you're going to be looking at a bunch of places that are either going to need a culture setter, they're going to need somebody that's young-minded, innovative, and that could really boost up their chances of having a better roster. So there's lots of things to look at up from here, but I am excited for the off season because I feel as though like John Harbaugh, from what it sounds like, could be taking the Giants' job. They need a different culture. They need a different culture set. With Baltimore and with Pittsburgh probably needs to end up they need to restructure the culture in itself, but it's not like they need a lot of changes. But there certainly does need to be help in there. And for Baltimore, I mean, they've instilled the culture themselves. They're physical. They get after it. They usually don't ever lose out up on games. So that's the one big part up on it too. All right, the final NFL top 10 of the entirety of the year while we're here up and into the playoffs. So, time to break it down. Let's get to it.
Rank them up.
Yeah, it's time.
Let's go, baby. It's on time right now. The top 10 NFL teams, according to Jake. Number 10.
So as I've said before, the Jacksonville Jaguars are up and at 10. I know they were eliminated, but here's the one thing that I give them credit more than anything else is the Jacksonville Jaguars have a very bright future with Liam Cohen. And this is the best looking Trevor Lawrence that we have seen in years since he's been in the league, since he was a top prospect out of college at Clemson. So to me, the Jags have they've got a plan. They've got assets that they know that they could utilize, and they have the players in order to do so. So Jacksonville is going to be scary up and into the South for years to come. I like what they looked like all season long. I mean, you battled a tough Buffalo team that was determined. They want to win. They want to get after it. I like with what the Jacksonville Jaguars have built this year. I have them at 10.
Number 9.
Furthermore, and I get it, everybody's clowning on Matt LaFleur because of the collapse that happened with Green Bay. But here's the thing. The Green Bay Packers, if you think about it, at the time in which they were scoring points. I mean, Jordan Love, 4 touchdowns, no picks. Like, Jordan Love was throwing the ball, and he was throwing it efficiently. But Green Bay, I got to give them credit. They were fighting with a lot of injuries. No Micah Parsons, not a whole lot of key pieces. But now they do have to go in with questions of where do we do with Malik Willis? Like, you got to think about the backup quarterback. You got to think about your star receivers, because honestly, Matthew Golden looked really good. And I'm excited for what the future beholds up from there. But Chicago got the best of them. They'll be better. They will be well rested. They'll come back next year. And I think they'll be a much better team up from there. I have a 9.
Number 8.
Now, the number 8 team, and this is where we go into the playoff teams, is Chicago. Because for a certain amount of quarters, they weren't quite getting anything connected. But it wasn't until later on when they got that 25 unanswered points run. And Caleb Williams, here's the thing. We know he's got a fastball, and we know that he can throw it accurately, especially when you're looking for guys like Roma Dunze and you're looking for guys like Luther Burden. Like, this Chicago offense is better than people think it is. All it takes is you got to get slow connection, slow build, and then eventually get into a rhythm. And I think they certainly have found a little of that rhythm late. I got him at 8 for right now, but they certainly got to strike sooner than later.
Number 7.
The number 7 team that I have is the Buffalo Bills. Buffalo, in my opinion, they were going toe-to-toe against Jacksonville in this game, and all it took was for Josh Allen to put the ball in his hands, improvise, make the throws, and he certainly did that. Khalil Shakir, a couple of other notable names, and then not to mention Dalton Kincaid. Last I've heard, he's on a boot, and it's going to be hard to have to be without their star tight end. So I think Buffalo, going into Denver's game, they got to play a lot of underneath routes. They got to really end up distributing, run the football hard with James Cook. I think they would have a shot at it, but it's not going to be easy at 7.
Number 6.
Number 6, I got the Houston Texans. My biggest worry about this was that offensively, and C.J. Stroud had 5 fumbles in that game. And he was coughing up the football. It felt either nervousness, you had butterflies, you get jitters. I don't know what it was. But then it wasn't until late in the fourth quarter where they ended up scoring up 23 points. So the Houston Texans, they know they rely on their defense, and it's about as similar of a game plan to what, the Denver Broncos do. But for Houston, I trust that defense, and I think against the New England Patriots, where they had 5 sacks against them, and Drake May, even if he was making the throw, he was making it work. I got him at 6.
Number 5.
The number 5 team that I have is New England, because that was not a great gameplay from Drake May, even though that they got the win, and it is what it is. But I do believe, though, that the Patriots, they're gritty. And as long as Mike Vrabel, the coach, he gets into it, understands the philosophy, and Christian Gonzalez, last I checked, he had been going through his progressions with the concussion protocol, and so far he's looked good, he's looked all right, but they're keeping tabs, and they're keeping a monitor there in order for him to be healthy come this football game against Houston. Not going to be easy, but they still managed to lessen the Chargers to 3 points. I got New England at 5.
Number 4.
Number 4, in my opinion, is the San Francisco 49ers. Let me be honest with you. I think with Brock Purdy, in which he was distributing the ball, and the way that the defense was playing up against Philadelphia, and Philadelphia was so emotionally driven and distracted that they just could not find answers. And Brock Purdy, without George Kittle, they had Tonjes, they had Juwan Jennings, and when Christian McCaffrey is healthy, this was a really perfect adverse game plan that the Niners knew they had to execute. And they did just the right things. They trusted in Brock Purdy. Now, this game against Seattle is going to be tough, but I like with where they have ended up, but it's going to take all of them to win this game. I got them at 4.
Number 3.
The LA Rams. Here's the thing about this. I'm not blanketing the fact that the special teams did not look great against the Carolina Panthers, but let me be honest. Matthew Stafford, in throws in which he needed to make, he has made them. Puka Nacua, Devontae Adams. There was a bunch of different situations in which this is why Sean McVay vowed to trade for him. He can make the risky throws, risk it, no biscuit type mentality, and Matt Stafford got the Rams a win. Now they got to end up facing up against Chicago, which another defensive team. It's going to be a little bit more gritty in this matchup, but it's going to take, getting after a young Caleb Williams, not giving him time to throw, and then not having the spots to throw in the end of it. I think LA is in okay shape. I love with what the offense did. I got him at 3.
Number 2.
Denver. In my opinion, the Denver Broncos, they're coming off the bye. They'll be well rested. Hufanga and Dre Greenlaw, they got their defensive guys back. And one of my big things is that offensively for the last 3 weeks, they've been held under the 20 points. Okay, I'm a little worried about that on the offensive side of the ball. But as we mentioned with Mark Parson, who's been around with Sean Payton, he's comfortable, he's trustworthy, he's got a lot of trust in Bo Nix to make the throws and make the plays. But that's where you really got to put points up and on the board. I love the defense for what they've done, accumulating sacks and pressures and stops in the passing game. I like with where Denver's at. It's going to be a hell of a ball game against Buffalo. I got them at 2.
Number 1.
Finally, the number 1 team, and it's no question it's Seattle. In my opinion, getting guys healthy, I mean, they honestly should be playing with just the way that the young roster is built. But Seattle, they're physical, they get after it. And let me be honest with you, when people talk about the cover three that Seattle puts together with Mike McDonald, it is ferociously good. Nick Emenwari, Julian Love, you cannot get past that. Even Devon Witherspoon. That defense is so much fun to watch. It'll be fun to watch from this point on when you got a division rival headed on the road. I like the chances with Seattle, so I got them at 1. All right, so there you go. The last top 10 of the year, man. And it's sad it had to come to an end, but this is exactly where it was. So like I said, the 2 teams there are the teams that I have really good high hopes for next year after they got eliminated. But that's exactly where I have it up from here. So talking about it and recapping with the Green Bay Packers, spent 2 seasons there and is also really happy and excited for the University of Miami to be in the national championship. Michael Wyche is going to be joining us on the program. Let's hear it, man. I mean, Miami back in the national championship after long years. I mean, what's kind of going through your head on this? Because I've had plenty of former Miami players that are excited. They're amped. I mean, this game against Indiana, they pack a punch. They're physical. And all it's going to take is for Miami to come in with the same energy and Carson Beck to make the throws. I think this is going to be a hell of a national championship, in my opinion. What says you?
I'm going with the U. If we can get to the quarterback, it's going to be a long day for Indiana. But if we allow them to throw the ball, Indiana is very good. They have a very good passing attack. They also have a very good running attack too. Um, I respect them fully, but I think if we play physical football and we get to the quarterback, I think we can be holding up the hardware at the end of the night.
You know, it's interesting. I asked the same question to Joaquin Gonzalez, and I was asking about, with Carson Beck's play. And now, granted, I didn't think it was great, but I thought it was good enough when he ended up making the drives that he knew he needed to stretch the field. So you're going against an Indiana team that packs a punch up on defense. We saw this against Alabama with Ty Simpson. Nowhere to run, nowhere to throw. They just couldn't even put up anything. And then, you look at, what they did to Dante Moore in Oregon, and it was the same thing. They were instilling fear. So when you think of Carson Beck and what he's going to have to come up across, what are kind of the things that he needs to be prepared for in order to, one, not only just try to play a perfect game in itself, but good enough to make the drives, make the stretches, and for Miami to hoist that national championship trophy?
I think first of all, he got to stay away from negative plays.
Yes.
He got to stay away from negative plays. He also got to throw the ball away and don't take too many sacks as well, which is negative plays, by the way. But uh, I think he has to. They got to take shots down the field. Let them take some shots down the field. We got some speedsters in Malachi. We got a couple other guys that can stretch the field. Take some shots down the field. Um, also, he can also use his legs, so he may need to use his legs. If it's not there, take off because that pass rush is coming. Indiana has a very good pass rush. They got a very good front four, but yeah, I think that's the main key thing is just staying away from negative plays and if it's not there, take what the defense give you and be patient until something open up because something's gonna open up. We also have to not hand uh, Indiana unnecessary points like Oregon did, because Oregon pretty much handed them 21 points.
Right.
So if you take that 21 points away that they handed them, we got an intense ball game.
Oh, 100%, man. I
Yep.
cannot wait for it. Watching Ruben Bain and that whole defensive front. I mean, that was an exciting game against Ole Miss. And I mean, it came down to one throw. That was the
Yeah.
one thing, whether PI or not, that came to one throw and it was competitive enough. And I give credit to Ole Miss with their players and what they've dealt with in the last couple of days. Like they showed out. They showed in a great
They crying
way.
about a PI. Come on, they
Yeah.
was holding the whole game, and now they crying about. All right, man.
So, transitioning over to the NFL and talking about your former organization you played for in the Green Bay Packers, um, watching that game. So, I had, funny enough, when you came on and I did my top 10, I put the Packers at 9 after being eliminated for a few reasons. Because number one, Jordan Love, he threw 4 touchdowns, no picks. The offense was putting points up. But the problem was, I get it. The injuries were inevitable. It's the NFL, and you're in the playoffs. This stuff is going to be bound to happen. But the adjustments and where Chicago came back up and into the game plan, and they end up winning the game with 25 unanswered points. So my big thing is Green Bay closing the chapter. Like Matt LaFleur has gotten you to the postseason almost every year, whether having Aaron Rodgers or not. Like this team is young, they're getting in their primes, they're working towards a lot of the kinks that they know they need to during the off season. But I mean, why move on from that? I mean, Matt LaFleur, yeah, you're going to have mistakes. You're going to have situations that didn't quite pan your way, but I mean, Green Bay, they're going to have Micah Parsons healthy by week 3, week 4. Like, how do you outlook this?
For one, my personal belief, but also let me say anything can happen in the NFL. The NFL is very, very, very unpredictable.
Mhm.
So uh for me, Matt's not going anywhere.
Yeah.
Matt is an amazing coach, a very good play caller. Um, I love everything about Matt. He fits the Green Bay culture. I love him there. I love him there. As far as from a team standpoint, uh, we definitely got to correct a lot of pieces on the defense. Especially, I'm a defensive line guy. I wasn't impressed with the defensive line play. Michael Parsons, the acquisition of Michael Parsons, he literally became the leader on that defense as soon as he stepped foot off the plane in Green Bay. You could see the aura. You could feel the team rise when he got there and how they played another gear of football. And when he got injured, it kind of like looked like it sucked the wind out of the defense.
Yeah.
Now, we have some players that are getting paid big money on the defensive line, and they haven't had a sack since week 8.
Yeah.
And I'm talking about Rashawn Gary to be specific.
Mhm.
They're paying you that type of money to go and get the quarterback. And I mean, you were pretty much missing in action.
Mhm.
Literally, I mean, half of the season. So even with Michael Parsons getting double teamed, I mean, you should be hitting home. They
Yeah.
got 2, 3 people on this guy, which he's 250 pounds soaking wet. And that's crazy to have 3 people on a 250-pound guy,
Yeah.
and you still can't hit home. That's an issue, and that can't be the standard there in Green Bay. If you got a monster that's getting triple team, double team like that, the other guys got to hit home. It's just that simple. It ain't no sugarcoating it, and they've not been able to get that job done all year.
And it's crazy to believe that too, because after the Micah Parsons trade, I mean, the biggest hit that they were going to take was losing Kenny Clark. I mean, you had your
Yeah,
veteran D tackle who was great against the run, and now it's like you're going to have to address that up into the offseason. But I think the other point is too, is I when I started the the division and playoff predictions before the season started, I didn't even have Green Bay, honestly. Like, I had them finishing second, but I didn't have them going up and into the playoffs because, and this was before the Micah trade, because the reason was when I watched that film footage of the corners, I felt a little afraid because I was like, the corners with just their style of play, and they had to rely on that whole front seven to get pressures because it was taking away from some sort of tendency that was happening in the secondary outside of Xavier McKinney. Like
Hmm.
I was like, I felt a little scared about that, but they did prove me wrong in a sense. They got to the last wild card spot. So I think that potential is really there. They just have to be able to address it up on the draft and in free agency.
Absolutely, I agree. I agree. And another thing they have to stay away from, just like you and I just discussed, like they gotta stay away from the penalties, the negative plays that's costing us. Green Bay could have won so many games off of just being disciplined, but the negative plays shot him in the foot. They shot him in the foot. The not the not converting on third downs. I mean, like against the Bears, I think we punted like four straight drives. Like it
Yeah.
was just ridiculous. Like we just we have to be more efficient on offense. We have to be able to convert on third downs. We have to be able to get the ball in the end zone, and we've not been able. It's like we start off hot and then we just take our foot off the gas.
Yeah.
We take our foot off the gas. There's no way the Bears shouldn't have came back. There's no way. But I knew that the Bears were a second half team, and I know that Green Bay it's like they're allergic to the second half or something. Like, yeah, you can just take it. So I
Yeah.
knew, and I'm always rooting for them, but I knew they weren't going to go far in the playoffs because of just the inconsistency on offense and defense, and it's always spurts. You see spurts of a great team, and it's like they never could put it all together. If one thing is working, the other thing's suffering.
Right. And it's like a pendulum swing. You got to be able to
Right.
balance that thing because it's like, yeah, that's why even you see from some of the teams, they could be going through defensive woes or even just offensive line shakeups and like, a bunch of those things. So you got to be able to balance that.
Yeah.
So I watched that Monday night game, Michael, and my big thing is Pittsburgh knows, 19 years with Mike Tomlin is such a long time. And they're going to need to revamp this organization the best way that they can.
Mhm.
And, but Aaron Rodgers, at his age, I give credit to the fact of number one, to still be this talented at the age of 42 is incredible. I mean that tells you a lot about your physique, your dietary, and a lot of the other things, and how you take care of your body to still be in the best shape of your life. I mean, we watch LeBron James playing basketball at the years that he's playing at. Now, granted, the older you get, lots of things start to change. But I look at Aaron Rodgers, and he wasn't there to be the quote unquote savior of Pittsburgh. So when I look at this, obviously he's now doing his thing where he's going to ride off and probably chill in Malibu Beach for an X amount of months until we figure out, is he still going to play or is he going to retire? You've been around Aaron and you've seen what he's capable of. In your best expressions on this, what should we expect out of Aaron Rodgers, and what could potentially be the outcome by the time we get into the offseason and we're getting ready to start for 26?
Um, First and foremost, Aaron Rodgers he's had an incredible, uh, legendary football career, man. Uh, I'm I'm just honored to have wore the same helmet this guy has worn.
Mhm.
Uh, um, from a physical standpoint,
Mhm.
he could play. I think he could play 5 more years from a physical standpoint because I know the way he takes care of his body and the things that he does in the off season, mental wise and physical wise. With Mike Tomlin stepping down, because him and Mike Tomlin are very, very close and they're very, very cool. They've been wanting to link up for a long time and it finally happened. Um, I don't know, man. It's going to be, if Mike Tomlin was still there, I'd say yes. Um, with Mike Tomlin being gone, um, I have no idea. But I do know this. I think deep down in Aaron's heart, he wants to win another Super Bowl.
Mhm.
But that's extremely hard in the NFL to do. So it's about how Aaron wants to go out.
Yeah.
Do you want to go out right now? Do you want to go out on a MVP caliber season? Do you want to go out, trying to chase another Super Bowl? So it's all about how he want to go out right now. And I think he's gonna do his little darkness retreat, and I actually would love to do that with him, by the way, the darkness retreat thing. I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
yeah, so I think he's gonna go through his darkness retreat. I think he's gonna do what they call it, ayahuasca or something like
Yep.
that. He does.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
I would love to try that with him too as well. Like, so I think he's gonna go through all of that and make a decision, man. But if it is time, you know, I'm happy that I was able to witness something like that in his lifetime. Um, of course, we don't want to see our OGs go, because we grew up watching them. I mean, I was in high school winning a state championship when Aaron Rodgers won a Super Bowl with Green Bay. So just we just gotta wait, man. But I think with this Mike Tomlin thing happening, I think I'm I would say he's probably gonna be done. And shout out to Mike Tomlin too. He's from the same area I'm from, Virginia, uh,
Mhm.
Newport News area. He's a Newport News guy, Hampton guy. So yeah,
Yeah, what a
he's
heck of a run from both these guys. I mean,
yeah,
to have a Super Bowl championship amongst of a team that doesn't always turn over coaches since 1969. I mean, to do that and continuously ride the culture wave and what Pittsburgh's always stood for a long time and having talented players is something that's something to really like be proud of, to be a part of that, and then having players you've been around, like it's amazing. But yeah, I mean, Aaron Rodgers, just heck of a guy, and in my opinion, like I think he means well. He's unapologetically him. I mean, you noticed that, like,
for
and
sure.
and he's going to do what he knows is best for him. And so if that takes, searching your aura and finding that in your heart and where that may be, you let it be for the next few months. But again, I loved watching him. I remember seeing him at his days in Cal, and then watching him in I remember tuning into the radio when he had his first official start in Green Bay. And I was just like, okay, here it is. Post Brett Favre. What are we going to get out of this? And then just to turn around a Super Bowl champion and the long tenure and the talent itself, because every single person I've talked to when it comes to quarterback, you can't replicate that. You certainly cannot replicate that kind of quarterback with the
I,
talent, the arm, and just all of that.
if I'm teaching a kid how to play quarterback, I would never show him tape on Aaron Rodgers because it's impossible. Like
Yeah.
those things, just you can't teach those things. Those are God-given things. I would have to show him more of a Tom Brady or a Peyton Manning.
Mhm.
something like that, that's going to set your foot right and, make the throw and all the mechanics, with Aaron Rodgers throwing off his back foot, uh, even Patrick Mahomes, those things just don't come around, man. There's just you can't teach a traditional kid to play quarterback and expect him to do Aaron Rodgers stuff. So,
Exactly.
yeah, it's
Well,
not
I
happening.
gotta I gotta tell you, your story is fantastic. I got a glimpse, generational curse that explains more about your story. And for all of our audiences here to get a glimpse of that, uh, tell us, explain to us, what went about when you put this book together? Because I'm sure it had to take several different times where you had drafts and really thoroughly writing this down, I'm sure. Um, but explain to us what all went into that and why it's such an amazing story. It's worth taking a peek at.
Well, it's worth taking a peek at because, um, as people, we battle so many generational curses in our lives, and they just get swept under the rug, and never get dealt with, and it just keep trickling down and trickling down and trickling down. So, to make a little summary out of it, my grandparents, man, who were my heroes, who are my heroes still. Um, my mother, uh, I'm gonna say, just she abandoned me, and my grandparents took a chance on me, um, and welcomed me into their home. This is my dad's parents, by the way,
Mhm.
and took a chance on me, and they raised me. They never gave up on me, and I like to say I turned out pretty good.
Mhm.
But the generational curse of my father being incarcerated since I was 3 years old, my grandfather was incarcerated for most of my father's childhood. So my grandmother said, you know what, this is going to stop with you. You're not going to be incarcerated. You're going to do something that's going to break the cycle. And yeah, that's what we did. And it became an amazing story.
Yeah. And I also know too, like, life after football, what's great about it is that the fact that you express so much of your experience and growing up and making it. I was just earlier, I had Mark Parson who was up and on here, and he expressed about, his journey road being undrafted and then making that roster when things started to unfold, and it was like the best, um, you know, it was the best underdog story that the more you kept working up at it, and then when you get to that point, how great it feels to have that experience and then to be able to share that with many people. And with you, like your experience in your life and what it shaped you to be where you are today is probably the most influential, the most impactful thing that many people would love to be able to read and to be able to witness and even experience that even in their own personal lives as well. And I think it's fantastic. If you haven't gotten a chance to see it, guys, Generational Curse, the Michael Wyche story is worth reading. It's worth getting a chance to see it. Appreciate you, Michael. Appreciate you for coming on by and expressing just it's just awesome to like have the experiences up and on here and to seeing it from your point of view, man. It's incredible and absolutely love your book. I'd love to get a chance to get a copy and just look, I've seen even the movement. If people are coming in with Packer jerseys, that'll be one Packer jersey right there that's so impactful and moving. I'd love to get my hands on that as well.
Hey man, we got the gear for you. Uh, we got the book for you. Um, like I said, man, we the movement is uh breaking generational curses that hold us back. And we also talk about building generational wealth. Because of the game of football, that's the reason that I'm a successful businessman. I know how to run my business. I know how to run a team, and it has definitely helped me become a successful entrepreneur and an investor. So I talk a lot about saving your money, investing your money, and then multiplying your money, because I've been around a lot of athletes who I played with that literally have went broke because they didn't have no financial literacy. So no matter if you're working at Walmart or you're playing in the NFL, we still got to learn how to save our money, invest our money, and multiply our money so we won't be living paycheck to paycheck. So that's the movement. And if you like that movement, breaking generational curses and creating generational wealth, join the movement. I talk a lot. If you look on my Instagram, I give you different quotes about, you know, just about financial literacy. That's what I teach. So people ask me all the time why I'm not coaching football. That's because I found something that I'm coaching. I'm coaching financial literacy.
That's
So I
right.
am a coach. I am a coach, So
Yeah.
yeah,
And it's interesting, right? It comes in different types. Like it comes in different ways. And still you make an impact on it, whatever the avenue may be. And so, and I love that because my side note before letting us go, um, I'm married to the most beautiful woman in my life. We're officially introducing our firstborn child, and moving into fatherhood.
congratulations.
Thank you so much. And we both are in a boat to where we trust each other. We build our foundation, and the financial spots. Like we want to eventually own a house. We want to eventually have our spot, and eventually we want to grow it furthermore and have the future that my future kids would learn and be able to build upon that and pass that along to their future kids when they're ready. And so I absolutely love that, man. But appreciate you for coming on by, Michael. Enjoy the rest of the night, man. And thank you so much for joining on. And for those that haven't checked it out, check it out. Generational Curse, his story, and everything that he breaks down. Give it a read, guys. Appreciate you, Michael. Take care of yourself, and we'll see you soon.
Yes, sir. You do the same.
Absolutely. All right. There you go, folks. I loved it tonight. Some great stories. That's what the show is all about. And especially with every experience, man, it's amazing. All righty, we got to get out of here. Appreciate everybody for stopping on by here tonight. Appreciate Mark Parson and Michael Wyche, their experiences in this and what they're doing life is amazing. Give them a look, guys. Appreciate you. We'll have the clips. We'll have all the stuff. Appreciate you guys for coming on by. Enjoy the rest of the night, and we'll see you guys next week on the Snake Sports Talk Show. Take care, everyone.